I want to start off just with a short history of who I am. And I have been drawing since I was a very small child, and I started on the walls. And my mother really didn't appreciate this because, as we all well know, crayon is very difficult to get off walls, and I did a lot of scrubbing when I was very small. I continued to draw, paint every once in a while, but mostly drawing is what really intrigued me. And then in 1983, I went to the art store and I told the guy I wanted to learn how to do something with painting. So he gave me 3 primary paints, one blue, one red, and one yellow, a full sheet of Arches watercolor hot press paper, which is approximately 20 inches by 29 inches. So we're not talking a small sheet. So I started on a full sheet of watercolor paper, and it took me a year to finish that painting. A very long year. I did learn a lot because I was teaching myself, and I found out years later that the technique I was teaching myself was called dry brush watercolor. What I loved about the watercolor was its accuracy, and I loved how much detail I could get with it. I loved the research end of it, but I did not love having to cover over beautiful color passages because it wasn't accurate color to whatever it was I was painting. So I was telling a friend of mine about this, and she said, "Patricia, you're supposed to love painting." So I decided that maybe it was time to start picking up some new techniques. So I started with egg tempera and really tight oils, traditional oils, where there's a lot of glazing going on. And what I didn't know at that time was that when you pick up new techniques, what you were previously doing heavily informs how you approach that technique. So these were really tight, really precision. Took me 6 months to 7 months, which is just like my watercolors. It took me 6 to 7 months to do each one of those paintings, which was way more time than I wanted to be spending on a painting anymore. So I, on a whim, bought some pastels, chalk pastels, and they really made me start loosening up. And they have the most gorgeous colors with them because you're basically painting with pure pigment and a little bit of gum arabic and a little bit of chalk. And I have fallen in love with chalk pastels, and it's my primary technique. And I have since started back in with oils now that I am painting in a more looser technique. So my looser pastels are now informing me so that I'm able to paint my oil paintings looser. But I have not left being tight behind. I have been doing scratchboard, which is kind of a pen and ink technique, but you use a knife instead of quill to scratch away the ink. I've been doing that for years for my illustration work. And I decided that all of my tight work is now going to be done in scratchboard, and that's what I'm doing now. So when I want to do research and I want to find out about my organism or whatever it is that I'm getting ready to paint, I'll switch over to my scratchboard and I'll have just a ball learning about my specimen and how it lives and who eats it and all of that wonderful stuff you get to learn. But when I want something that's more expressive, especially with color, where I'm not having things to be extremely accurate, it could be more based on how I'm feeling and I'm trying to project a certain feeling into my painting, then I switch back over to my chalk and pastel. And that is a little bit about who I am.